And Jim, I understand you also spoke to the governor about some new guidance that the state is going to give employers about people who test positive for the virus. So what did he tell you about that?
Yeah, this is really interesting stuff. We sort of got a preview of what the Florida Department of Health is likely to be releasing in the next day or two, which is going to be guidance that in part comes from the CDC about whether or not people who have previously tested positive should get another test before going back to work. But our conversation started by talking about the failures of testing and the inability to do contact tracing in the state. And here's where the conversation picks up with the governor.
It's going to be very difficult to do contact tracing if I can't tell you in a PCR test whether an asymptomatic carrier actually has live virus. And we now know you can't do that. I think at the beginning we tended to think if you test positive, you have live virus. Well, now we've seen people that'll test positive 30 days, and CDC says up to 12 weeks. So that makes the contact tracing of asymptomatic very difficult. Even if you got an immediate turnaround, it would still be somewhat difficult, but a 7-day turnaround just makes it very difficult.
That's the second time you've cited this CDC study that talks about live virus or dead virus remaining in the system for 12 weeks. I talked to a number of epidemiologists and folks who study infectious diseases, and that is not clear to them. So with that study in your mind, do you foresee, for instance, saying that it's okay for a person who has a positive test to go back to work if it's been a week or 2 or 3 weeks since their positive test?
Well, that's what CDC's guidance is.
But is that what is your guidance?
No, exactly. So we're going to follow their guidance. So basically, it's a symptom-based approach. If you test positive, you obviously isolate. But then if you have had a certain number of days, I think it's between 10 and 14, depending on the circumstances, with no symptoms or the symptoms have subsided, no fever, then there's a pathway for you to go back.
So this is going to be a new policy that you're going to be implementing.
Well, this is the guidance we're going to give to employers. I mean, we're not obviously requiring, we've never necessarily required a negative test except for nursing home situations and a few others. Most of the employers, though, have been doing the negative PCR test. And I think CDC's guidance is we should focus more on a symptom-based approach rather than a test-based approach. And I think that that's probably the better way to go. So yeah, we're going to follow that. I think the Department of Health is putting out some guidance on that today. It's not necessarily mandatory, but I think most employers will look at that and probably feel that's a little bit more flexible.
Do you run the risk of confusing people who may say to themselves, I tested positive for the virus, but does my positive test really mean anything? You see what I'm saying? In other words,
well, but at the same time, I mean, as we get new information, I think we have to be honest about what that data is telling us. So, for example, if we were sitting here in the beginning of March, I mean, I would have thought a positive test was like, man, you're definitely, and then just we've learned more about kind of the limits of the PCR testing. I think for sure, if you are experiencing coronavirus symptoms and you test positive, you have live virus. I think if you have no symptoms, there is a question about whether we can tell you definitively whether you have live virus based on this.
All right, Jim, so do we know when this new guidance is going to go into effect, and will it be mandatory?
So as the governor said, it will not be mandatory, but it will go into effect supposedly in the next few days, possibly as early as tomorrow. The State Department of Health will be putting it out there. And I learned one other thing late today is that one of the things that the governor did was he got this from talking to the vice president as part of the coronavirus task force meetings. So these are one of the things that the federal government is talking about and they're trying to push out. I have not been aware, though, of any other state in the country that has done this.
You've also spoken to some health experts, Jim, and this could actually be proven to be controversial, won't it?
Yeah, so let's take it as a practical application. So at CBS, if you test positive for coronavirus, you cannot come back to work until you have at least 1, sometimes 2 negative tests in a row in a 24-hour period. There are a number of businesses that do that. What the governor is saying and what the policy that they're going to be recommending going forward is for employers to ignore that, and that if a person is not showing symptoms, if they tested positive but do not have symptoms for 10 days, they should then go back to work. that the employer should have them come back and start working. Now, I don't know about you, but I know that some people in our office and in other offices might not want to work next to someone who has not been retested. One of the outcomes of this is we could be seeing fewer tests because they're going to start telling people, you don't need another test. If you simply don't have symptoms, don't worry about getting another test to see if you're still positive. Just go back to work. Now, the governor's office told me late today when I pressed them more on this to follow up, they said that a number of hospitals are already taking this approach with their own employees, and they think this is going to be the new standard to follow symptoms, not tests. It's sort of de-emphasizing tests and just looking at symptoms. As I said, I think it's going to be controversial. I think you're going to see some pushback in the days ahead.
All right, Jim, a lot of important and insightful information coming out of your interview there with the governor. Thank you so much tonight.